Now, this is all statutes. This is all based on U.S. citizen. One of the essential things of creating or putting all the children in this big corporation was the birth certificate. In 1921, there was a Maternity Act which passed. And basically, it was for the protection of the mothers. However, basically, it's created an entity that mothers, they can register their children and get a certificate. That's the birth certificate. Anytime that you get a certificate, guess what? You surrender title, you get a permission. It doesn't matter in this country what you own. It matters who controls it, who has a security interest. The same thing we do it with cars, the same thing we do it with houses when we recorded the county recorder, the DMV, when we file it, the car with the DMV, we get a certificate. A certificate is not ownership. It's a proof that the owner giving you a permission. Otherwise, it's illegal. So you surrender it, and it's a voluntary compliance, by the way. You surrender it. Once you surrender it, it becomes a irrevocable contract. So now you don't own it. That's why you have to pay property tax. You have to pay taxes, income taxes. You have to pay all kinds of taxes. So we are in the system. I don't care all this organization. And I've heard for the last 10 years, a lot of people, they talk about constitutional rights. They go to the courts. As soon as they start talking about Bill of Rights, Constitution, the judge will shut them down, and he's going to say, well, if you start talking about Constitution in my court, I'm going to put you in jail. And you wonder, how can it be? The President of the United States takes his oath to defend the Constitution. Now, this judge is telling me, if I talk about it, I go to jail in his court. What happened? Well, the court system, the whole court system is in treason. And I'll tell you why. First of all, you have to pinpoint your enemies. IRS is not your enemy. IRS are people like you and me, with one exception. They don't have any ethics left. So they work for the IRS. But besides that, they're not your enemy. Your real enemy is the Bar Association, which is a British corporation. This is what is controlling the whole United States. The judge tells you, you cannot practice law without having a license. You know why? Because all the laws, they're copyrighted by British corporations and publishing companies out of Montreal. They write and they publish, and they're copyrighted. If you use them, you're violating a copyrighted material. You go to jail. Not because you're not an attorney. It has nothing to do with that. You need to have a permission, a copyright permission. Now, being a foreign corporation out of Britain, England, coming in the United States, taking over all the court system, and according to the setup of the court, if you have a judge, he has to be a neutral person, has nothing to do with the court or the case. The prosecutor the same way, the clerk of the court the same way, everyone is the same way, and the attorney. However, the attorney is the officer of the court. The judge and the prosecuting attorney, they're all attorneys. Well, they all belong to the Bar Association. Nice family running the show. They cannot do that. All of them, they have vested interest. However, no one is objecting, so they just keep doing whatever they're doing. As long as you don't object, it becomes under color of law. They'll just keep doing. As a U.S. citizen, you cannot have a claim. You know why? Because you don't have one. You don't have a right. You don't have a right to own anything. You don't have a right to have a security interest. You don't even have a right to enter in a legal contract. That's why people, they set up offshore trusts. However, if you are the trustee, the IRS will come and penetrate the trust because you are a U.S. person having control on the funds. And you can have all kinds of arguments. I've seen all of them. Still, if you are a U.S. citizen, they'll come after you, and yes, they have the right to get in. So this is the court system, and of course, you have to know what you can do in the court, and a little bit of knowledge, it will help you a lot. We've got all kinds of material. We have it, but there are so many other organizations that they have a lot of good stuff also. However, we put things together that works for people, and we stay behind it. The redemption process, as I said, we sold thousands of books, by the way, and we had a lot of great successes and a lot of appreciations. The book, it's more expensive than a regular book. However, the reason why it's done that way so that we can finance the authors so that they can get us more good stuff. Just to tell you about the book, how good it is, in the last 2 years, selling thousands of them, I had one return. One return. And I sent him a letter personally to the client congratulating him that he is the first to ask for his money back because he doesn't like the book. So there is only one return. This is a record. I'm really proud to say that. The best news that I'm going to give you today is probably it's beyond everything else that I talked today. These stuff that I told you about, the traffic ticket, the money brief, all these things you can do it right now in the system. However, we've got really a breakthrough in the whole system. And it's the only question that everyone was asking for years. How can we get out of the system, and how can we stop paying legally income tax? Is it possible? Oh, yes, it is. Till, I would say last year it wasn't, but now it is. We did a lot of research on this subject, and we cannot, of course, take anyone's word for granted. So we did a lot of checkings, we did a lot of research, we went through 200 cases, and finally we got a product that basically it will take every single person out of the jurisdiction of the United States, which is the expatriation process. Now, expatriation, I heard about this process 10 years ago. I was following it. And basically, people that they're filthy rich, millionaires, they used to get out of the country, go to an American embassy, surrendering all their documents, and they say, good luck. I don't want to be part of this. I'm happy outside, and that's the end of it. Well, the government saw that this is not a good practice, so they said that we're going to change the rules. If you're going to expatriate that way, we need to clear the account, which is the IRS account. However, I am not against it. Why should I decide to live offshore if I like this place? I like to live in United States of America. I like California. Why should I be forced to live in Europe or somewhere else? Because basically, I don't want to get involved in a fraudulent compliance. So basically, we have a way now for every single person to get out of it, out of the system, legally, and you will have the approval of 5 chief officers of the United States, by the way, including the president. I've seen 200 cases already. Every single one of them, they're out. Once you're out, no longer IRS filings. You have no business with the IRS. As an American citizen, you have no business with the IRS. Plus, you have no business with the court system. This is important because a court system, it's based on statutes. It's based on regulations of corporations. All these statutes, over 60 million, it's created for corporations. Now, your name, you have 2 names, by the way. Actually, you have one name, real name, and you have a mirror image name, which is all capital letters. That all capital letters is a corporate entity, fictitious name. It's not you. It's created by government so that they can have jurisdiction on you. You're the surety for that name. That's how they get you. Not because the government is really on top of the people. No. The government is not. That corporate name, which is created by government, they have jurisdiction. And if you think you're that person, all the laws, all the statutes applies to you. That's why the UCC works. You accept that name for value, register it as your own asset, and now you can use it as a private entity. However, because of the name, all these rules and regulations applies to you. Now, how can we get out of it? In order to find the problem, you don't go today's problem. You have to go back and see where it started so that you can solve it from the beginning. There are 2 contracts. This is very important now. There are 2 contracts that it makes you a U.S. citizen. One of them is when you first participated in the Social Security program. They call it SSI, Social Security Insurance. The second contract is when you used the postal service to send your mail. And this is basically a judge which basically made a statement that these are the two contracts, asking the bailiff, does he pay Social Security? Yes. Does he use it to postal service? Yes. He is a U.S. citizen. That's the only proof that they need to prove that you are a U.S. citizen. I'll explain why the Social Security insurance. Social Security insurance, when you have a child, you apply for Social Security. That's not a contract. It's just the application. When your child is age 18 and he starts working, the first dime that he puts in the Social Security account, it makes him a U.S. citizen. And I'll tell you why. A child under 18 legally, he cannot enter in any contract. He cannot have legally any claim against anyone. He cannot own anything